5th of March 2024, and of course we'll be checking out a couple of headlines with our guest analyst Mr. El-Rufai joining us. Yesterday was a corporate shutdown. Corporate Nigeria shuts down Lagos for Wigwe. That was yesterday, and we had political titans turning up yesterday to celebrate the life and times of the late CEO of Access Bank, Herbert Wigwe, who all of them described as a titan. Now, in an emotional laden night of tributes with touching memories, dignitaries from the public and private sectors led by Africa's richest man, Dangote, Aliko Dangote, Minister of Finance, Wale Edun. You also have governors of Lagos and Ogun states, Central Bank of Nigeria, the governor, the bank chief executives. They all sang praises to the late bank chief. Different dignitaries were at the event, looking at the president of the AFDB, Adesina Akinwumi, chairman of Zenith Bank, Jimovia. You had also chairman Coordination Capital, Mr. Aigboje Ai Imokwede, CEO of GT Holdings. You had a lot of dignitaries at that particular event. But one thing that struck out yesterday was Aliko Dangote, who shed tears as he paid tribute to his late friend Herbert Wigwe, his wife and son, and he has renamed the road leading to his refinery Herbert Wigwe Road to immortalize him. So let's take a listen to what Aliko Dangote had to say.
I stand here today with a sense of profound loss and feeling of utter helplessness. I feel very, very helpless because I could not prevent the tragedy that befell my friend, my brother, my mentee, and a very, very loyal friend for that matter, Herbert Wigwe, CFR, his beloved wife, Chizoba, and his son, Chizi. Herbert was a visionary role model in fortitude and a perfectionist. I stand here today with a sense of profound loss and feeling of utter helplessness. I feel very, very helpless because I could not prevent the tragedy that befell my friend.
Well, that was the voice of Aliko Dangote, who started to shed tears yesterday as he paid tribute to his late friend. Well, at this point in time, some people, on a lighter note, some people were like, Aliko Dangote can shed tears, but it was really an emotional night, and our hearts and prayers are with him, the family, the wife and the son of late Herbert Wigwe. So, yes, there's another story that broke out yesterday. A NEPA wire sparks caused some houses to burn yesterday in Lagos State, and the reactions were, it came out yesterday. Some of the reactions. Let's listen. All right, so that was a fire somewhere in Lagos State where, the NEPA wire sparks from the NEPA wire caused some of the houses to burn. And you're looking at shops and properties that were lost in that particular fire. Who is going to, give them back some of the things that they lost monetarily, either by a house or whatever? Who is going to do that? Who is going to be held accountable for their demise? Well, that's the question this morning. At 7:30, we'll be joined by El-Rufai. Let's go ahead, pay some bills. I'll be back in a moment.
We bring you all the big stories and what's behind them. Politics, business, sports, news, all on VOP 96.1 FM. Now you have a voice. news,
Breaking news on VOP 96.1 FM.
sports,
The Greek god in Rome!
business,
The exchange rate will begin to move towards its purchasing power parity value.
health,
Help the patient as much as you can.
politics,
Everybody knew that I was just managing.
I withdraw that statement.
Each day you open television, weekend. Let the poor breathe.
security,
We're making some arrests already, and we can assure Nigerians that we are on top of the game.
and your voice.
But immediately they assume office, but the story will change.
Talk of lights, talk of good road, talk of some other things.
Bad roads, they should try and do something to it.
The Morning Ride. Weekdays from 6 a.m. Voice of the people. Now you have a voice. It's thrilling, controversial, heated, thought-provoking. Catch Rufai Oseni,
Came here to misrepresent the facts today as regards subsidy removal.
Kesire Aqua,
Report was that $9 billion is lost yearly to illegal mining.
and Simeon Sunday.
If you know something of this nature is happening within your community, why didn't you raise an alarm?
On the Front Page Review, weekdays at 7:15 a.m. Now you have a voice.
Good morning to you. Welcome to Front Page Review right here on Voice of the People 96.1 FM. We'll be checking out a lot of headlines this morning. We have the first one on Punch. OPS warns of shutdown as hoodlums loot more trucks. OPS warns of shutdown as hoodlums loot more trucks. We have the organized private sector has expressed concern about the spate of looting in of trucks conveying food and raw materials by suspected hoodlums, warning that it can lead to a shutdown of industries across the country. Members of the OPS gave the warning on Monday in separate interviews with Punch, just as miscreants attacked trucks conveying building materials and spaghetti in Ogun and Kaduna states. Also on Monday, the federal government said it would start the distribution of free grains to states this week. Good morning, Mr. El-Rufai. Thank you for joining us. Hello.
I can hear you, Getty. Go ahead.
All right, so we're talking about more looting of trucks. We're seeing spaghetti and building materials that have been hijacked and stolen in Ogun State and Kaduna State. Yesterday, we saw some, and we're talking about it in the news with our other analyst, and he was talking about the fact that we're going to see more and more and more. Even though it's not condoned, I mean, you cannot say that because of hunger, you now turn to crime. Well, when there are other well-meaning Nigerians who are, equally as hungry, but they aren't turning to crime. But at this point in time, Mr. El-Rufai, what can Nigerians do? If they don't see food, if they can't see anything, what do they do? Do they wait and wait and wait until there's no time in the future to the end of their sufferings? There's no time. There's no time frame given by the president or the government.
So that's why we call on the government to expedite action. Because increasingly, what you're seeing is a reaction to the hunger in the land. Like you said rightly, it's not justified for crime and all of that. And it's true, the agency should nip them in the bud. But I would like to say that the government should do something quickly. It's a very sad ordeal now. And when I was saying that we pretty much had no grains all this while, people thought I was joking. But you can now see that it is Ukraine that is giving us grain, a war-torn country that is giving us grain. That's to show you how low we've become. So the government should expedite action. If it's to import, if it's to look for alternatives and all of that, expedite. If it's to seek food, eat. Action in the next 2 to 3 months. Because if this level of hunger heightens, it will only continue. You're going to always see those occurrences. And we don't want that in a country like this. Because you want to stabilize the economy. So we need to look at this stage.
All right, Mr. Rufai, in this situation where you have Nigerians going through a lot, right? Is it not important to have? I know we talked the other day. I can't remember the name. You talked about an address given by the president of the United States, updating them of all the things that he was doing in the economy and all that. Shouldn't we have at least a time frame in the future? A time frame in the future for Nigerians to look forward to, because if you're telling Nigerians to just be patient, and there's no time frame to the patience, then you're going to see lack of patience start to play. Hello.
Just, I do respect, yes. That's why I say the plans of the government. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
I say with due respect, yes. That's why I always argue that the plans of the government are not working, because if
all right, apologies for that. For some reason, some of the solutions that we're trying to find out are not working. Hello. All right, I'll try to reconnect using a different line, and we'll try to get the conversation moving, because at this point in time, you're telling Nigerians to be patient, to be comfortable. They should just hold on and continue, sacrificing with no future in with no deadline. I can hear you now.
They were saying second quarter. They were saying first, second quarter this year. Things are not looking any better. So I'm sure their plans are not working. I'm very sure of that. And there's no end in sight. And this is where I said those plans were very hard line in the first place. Now, yes, you need to fight inflation. You've increased interest rate. I am said to the signal is good. But at the same time, they're also stifling economic growth, because people will not be able to get access to be able to borrow money, to be able to grow their businesses. So it's a moment of that will favor massive growth outlook. Because they want to meet borrowing in the pod. And for you to incentivize the economy, and definitely you cannot go to borrow, because it's also going to bring up a backlog. But at the same time, you have to weigh what you want. Do you want growth? Inflation? Do you think growth to be able to reflect inflation and all that? Very much, which involves spending your way out of that.
All right. It's clear that the network is going to be messing with us this morning. We'll try to reconnect using a different network. Hopefully that would be better. Anyway, we've been talking about the different looting of trucks across Nigeria. In Kaduna, there was in Ogun State, there was in the FCT, and a handful of other places as well.
Hear me,
I can hear you now.
So, like I was saying before, the Kayashan theory is saying incentivize industry. But the question is, how do you do it with a lot of transparency? So, take for instance, all those cash transfers we're doing. If we do it with a lot of transparency, can we really account for the people we're giving that money to? I mean, those are the questions we keep not answering, and that's why we keep going back. So, we need to be able to inject the economy. How we do it also matters.
All right. Yesterday we had a comment from the former president Obasanjo. He was talking about the fact that Nigeria should look to Zimbabwe for solutions to our problems.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that statement. Zimbabwe is not any, beacon of hope as regards inflation. The last time I checked, Zimbabwe's inflation is even higher than high inflation officially. I think Zimbabwe has close to 50% inflation. So how do you look to somebody that has close to 50% inflation at a time like that? Somebody that has suffered massive inflation in the past, and somebody that has made the same mistake. Because the same mistake that kept us in inflation, added to our inflation, what Zimbabwe made. When there were a lot of sanctions and President Mugabe then had to favor the ZANU-PF members that fought in the war that had to pay them off, he simply went ahead and he printed a lot of money. And that's also exacerbated inflation, just like our wage have been. Exacerbated inflation coupled with external shocks and coupled with also factors of increased food inflation, occasioned by insecurity and all of that. So I'm not sure Zimbabwe is the right beacon of hope to learn from. I mean, it's not. I'm not sure Zimbabwe is fantastic as regards managing inflation. Ghana will be able to bring down their inflation. I'm not even going to say we should learn from Ghana. We should find our own internal methods, to be able to solve our own inflationary challenges. And if we're going to import, we should tackle the problem of food and all of that. So I don't subscribe to what solution of us. But I hear it's 7:30. Happy birthday, Baba. Wish him the best.
Well, if we're looking for countries to emulate or learn from, why can't we look to China? I mean, China's economy was one of the worst in the world, and before we knew it, they're one of the largest economies in the world. So shouldn't we be looking to China?
I mean, yeah, China's a good one, but also when you say emulate capitalism, there's a subjugation of your rights. There's no true democracy, so pretty much like a one-party system. And, it doesn't have all the tenets, but it's state capitalism. They've been able to grow through the ranks there. But also their growth has come with a lot of debt. China has a lot of debt, So that's another thing you should look at. You can also look at nations like Japan. Yeah, Japan grew over 100 years, but Japan's growth has been stagnant now through the Zaibatsu and all of that. Korea, yeah, there are countries you can look at, but I'm not going to say China. I'm going to say a country like Korea should be looked at, South Korea, because pretty much in the 60s, when you check, GDP per cap, it was almost, if not Nigeria, higher than those countries then. I think GDP per capita of South Korea and Kenya in the 60s was probably at parity. But you can see how they were able to bring about growth. They had a military dictator then called General Park, that most of the money they got from Americans, most of the aid and all of that, they put them into industry, and Korea was able to go through the ranks, and they started heavy lifting, started, producing cars and things like that, cables, like of the Hyundais of this world, the Samsungs of this world, they were able to go through the ranks, and I think I would rather favor that model, rather than Chinese. And they've got, strong, vibrant democracy, they've got very good, strong rule of law. I mean, the former president went to jail, for offenses and things like that. So, I mean, there's no one-size-fits-all model, please don't get me wrong. But I think in terms of favoring the system, I mean, I'll look in the way of countries like Korea and all of that, and countries that are also going through the ranks. I'm not also going to use the Gulf nations as a model because, that's like a monarchy, purely dictatorship. For the African country, Morocco has been a good catch, but it's also purely dictatorship, and so if the person has a steady drive, then he can definitely get a lot of things done. So, I mean, a country that can, have the additives of very good democratic system and other factors in place, I would like to look to other countries. For most importantly, apart from looking to other countries, what works for us we should look at. What really works for us.
Exactly, because I was going to say, if you mentioned a couple of things that you wouldn't like to emulate from China and a couple of other countries, and the question now is, isn't it working for them and their citizens? Aren't they seeing the growth? That's number one. And then number two, when you have a situation where you have a conversation about growth, you must always talk about debt as well. I mean, America has some of the highest debt profile, but they're seeing the equal growth in their economy.
Yeah. The good thing about America is that why you must never compare yourself with America is their debt is denominated in dollar that they print.
So there's stability there.
Yes, you do not have that luxury. So you should also know that it's not a case of stability, but it's denominated in dollar that they print. So that's why they can jack up their debt fully from time to time. So you do not have that luxury. Secondly, they have a size of an economy that can produce the benefits. So take, for instance, America has like about a 20 trillion economy. But guess what? Their debt billion is even higher than the GDP. But guess what? From tax revenues, America will make arguably close to $4-5 trillion. So they've got a steady revenue stream. And it's also a big economy. It can meander. And that's why I saw that during COVID, they also printed money, but they spent it properly. They were targeting those companies. That's why you can hear follow schemes. Because they know that if their companies do well, they will be able to collect revenue. But we don't have that viability of the private sector here. So there are many challenges here and you want to look at. And that's why I said we need to find a model that works. At first, we need to find a model that helps the private sector get back on its feet, number one, because the private sector is long dead. And in fact, even in the heydays of production, there were largely a lot of government hand in that level of production. Nigeria has always been a mixed economy, but largely slanted towards government. So the major heydays of big factory productions, power production was largely government, paper mills, car production was government. Volkswagen of Nigeria, they had a partnership with government. Pan of Nigeria, they have Precious Royal of Nigeria, a partnership with government. The steel industries, like Alberta and the like, had a partnership with government. So the heavy lifting of the production sector has majorly been government. So transitioning that, yes, we've been trying to do that, but it's not at that viable scale. I mean, me, I'm a DSC baby. I lived it and grew up in DSC and where like that. That was largely government too. So transitioning has not been as easy. We've not really had that level of private sector that can hold the bulk and things like that. So the transitioning is very easy, and that's why you need to be able to balance across board. And also for us as well. And that's why I say we can't compare the Chinese because China practices capitalism to do very well, but we here, we all know the corruption variables and things like that. So, and apart from the civil rights issue in China and things like that, probably there's no one size fits all. I'll plan to us more like a Korean model, but we need to find what works for us and go organically from there.
All right. Since we're talking about debts and all that, I did a little bit of findings, and I've realized and seen that since the naira has been moving, funny against the dollar, we've seen a significant increment in the external debt. We're seeing that Nigeria's external debt stock increasing by about 28 trillion naira due to the devaluation of the Nigerian naira against the United States dollar. And this is it's outrageous at this point, because cumulatively you're looking at the external debt spanning across multilateral loans, African Development Bank loans, bilateral loans, different. Cumulatively, Nigeria's external debt totaled about 31.98 trillion naira. This is as of September last year, 2023. But now, with the official exchange rate of the naira to the dollar, we're seeing a 28 trillion naira increment. Mr. El-Rufai, what's the way out of this?
So you can see the point I was making just now. That's why you don't compare yourself with America. Because you don't print the dollar, your debts are denominated in America, have that edge. So they can use that to raise a ceiling. But the way out of this is also be able to facilitate your production and be able to target your fiscal spending to ensure that you get the desired results. So take, for instance, if we are taking debt on doing the rail line, how can we get the rail working to be able to, bring about GDP activities and increase our GDP activities so we can have more collection in terms of taxes, and that money coming from the used better. So those are the ways we should be able to tackle our debt problem. I mean, every nation has a debt problem, but how you tackle it and you plan around it, also looking at growth as a prospect, is something you have to do. Sometimes that's something you have to deal with as long as you can scale production. I mean, I think since the 60s, it was only in 1998 that President Clinton gave America their first budget surplus since the 60s. It was always budget deficit. So when you look at things like that, deficits are things to live with, but the question what we have a problem with is even when you now have the budget, how do you spend it? I mean, you're hearing the things that happen in the humanitarian ministry. You're hearing the president even say, no, my people are corrupt, we can feel it's also democracy in the country and all of that. So we just need that level of productivity. And once people start to believe in us, then we can do a lot more.
All right. We have the governor of Plateau State in the news talking about the fact that Buhari sold Nigeria's future. This is what he said. He was at an event yesterday where he said that Nigeria is at a difficult juncture in history, and we have inherited, that this particular government has inherited a worse off government than 1999. And then he went ahead to talk about the fact that, yes, we are seeing a free falling of the Naira, and talking about the food crisis and all that. He pretty much summed it up to the fact that the previous government did really, really, really bad. Mr. Rufai, is it possible that some of these things that we're hearing up and down is that people have been saying, rather, is that we could have been worse off?
So we're already worse off. Comparing to 1999, while you talk, my brain was just trying to calibrate. I was trying to see the data around that period. I think 1999 was way worse off than what we have now, and in all fairness. So I think it was way worse off than what we have. Because around 1999, don't forget in 1995, we had, inflation rates topping over 40% thereabouts. Interest rate was about 60% after 93 thereabouts. Then all of that trickled down. Growth was very low in the economy. Obviously, you remember the abuja year sanctions and all of that up to 1999. So it was an all-time low when they were handing over. And Abacha had just died on the 8th of June 98. Then Abdulsalami did a couple of months. Then as at 1999, May 29, we are handed over power to the general government. So it was a very low-growth environment. The parameters, yes, are very bad at this time, but I don't think that they were that worse. But the question is, what do Olusegun Obasanjo do? He tackled the problem. We had a big debt problem. I think our debt profile was about 13 billion thereabouts. He saw debt forgiveness and he showed willingness. Secondly, he used the soft power to be able to tackle the economic problems and built an image for Nigeria internationally. Thirdly, he tackled the economic problems head on. He used the very good strength of diaspora, put the right people in the right industry. Spendings were targeted, and we ran lean. And at the same time, we see the infrastructural projects. Don't forget, it was there we built the Abuja Stadium to host the All-African Games cordial. Yeah, there were bits and bobs of corruption, around cordial and all of that. But relatively, it started to bring a lot of impetus back to the economy, and we saw some level of growth. So it still goes back to leadership and itemizing what you really want to do and what you set out to achieve, an economic planning, really. So that's what this leadership means. I need to be transparent. Largely, I think we don't have the right thinkers in the right positions in the first place. We need people that are daring as regards to economic circumstances and ready to get results.
All right, real quick before you go, we're seeing the IG banning POS machines at police stations. I mean,
those ones will still be corrupt if they want to be corrupt. I think what the IG should do is to get a mole in every police force unit that reports directly to him, or open a channel of public complaints that he can listen to when people bring this complaint, to be able to transfer transfers. Not only through POS they do transfer, people do transfers into accounts, into other people's accounts, proxy accounts. Some of these police officers might even have these POS for their own self. They might even own the POS company and the operator. So that's what this is about. So it's just be able to track the system effectively. But also, while you're tracking that, you need to be able to improve welfare as a deterrent to all of these kind of activities of the police force.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Bless you. Yeah. Bless you so much.
All right. Have a good day. All right, to you listening, you have the opportunity to call and join the conversation. It's 0700 010 961 961, 0700 010 961 961. OPS is warning of shutdown. Hoodlums are looting more trucks here and there. That is food trucks. And then we're having the Plateau State Governor talking about the fact that the past administration sold this country in terms of how they ran the government, the governing of Nigeria. And then there's also this news talking about the IG banning POS machines at police stations. How far would that even go in revamping the image of the Nigerian police force? How far would it go? During the protest, the NLC protest last week Monday, we saw a situation where some policemen were actively dishing out sachet water to Nigerians to help them at that particular protest. And we were talking about it, Simeon and I, and it was just a funny thing where we're talking about the fact that, is it possible that the police will be doing all they can to ensure they revamp their own public image? Good morning to you. Turn off your radio. I can hear you. Good morning. Hello. Oh. All right. Do well to call back. 0700 010 961 961 is the number to call to be a part of the conversation. If you can't reach us via phone lines, then you can send a WhatsApp message or a voice note to 0700 010 961 961. Let me pay some bills. I'll be back in just a moment to take your calls as well as speak with our other guest analyst, Larry Oguego. Stay tuned.
Meet us on YouTube, Insta, and Twitter at Voice of the People 96.1 FM.
We have been serving you hot and fresh content on radio, and you have been loving it. Now we're taking it further. Catch us live on YouTube at VOP TV for all the juicy content you can't resist. Talk shows, exclusive interviews, news, lifestyle, and more. It's all about you. VOP TV, show up, speak up.
Glory to God and to the Lamb. Beauty to the throne of eternity.
Brotherhood of the Cross and Star presents the Everlasting Gospel Movement on Radio every Saturday, 6 to 7 p.m. on 96.1 FM. Tune in and be blessed. Thank you, Father.
Coming in hot.
Now, you can enjoy the original taste of premium American Romeo's Pizza. Juicy, just the way you like it. To order online from Guarimpa, call 090-8831-5908. Gariki 090-8831-5906. And Lupe 090-9238-9861. Romeo's Pizza, the pizza champions.
Coming in hot, just like the fajita.
The Week in Review, a recap of all the big headlines and stories of the week. Saturdays at only on VOP 96.1 FM. Now you have a voice.
Are you traveling to Lagos and desire a perfect getaway?
Look no further than the luxurious accommodations at Airport Golden Tulip Hotel, number 42 Murtala Mohammed International Road, Lagos.
Relax and unwind in our beautiful appointed rooms, featuring all the amenities you need for a comfortable stay.
Now, whether you are traveling for business or pleasure, our attentive staff is here to ensure that your every need is met. We also offer complimentary pickup and drop from the Lagos Airport.
Why not take advantage of our state-of-the-art fitness center, outdoor pool, and enjoy a delicious meal at our on-site restaurant?
With stunning views, world-class service, and a prime location, Airport Golden Tulip Hotel is the perfect choice for your next vacation or business trip.
So why wait? Book your stay today and experience the ultimate in comfort and luxury at Airport Golden Tulip Hotel.
For bookings and reservations, please call 0815-8003-333 or 0815-7003-333. You can visit our website at airportgoldentuliphotel.com.
Airport Golden Tulip Hotel, where luxury meets comfort.
Believe me, believe me.
Voice of the People, 96.1 FM. You're welcome back. This is still Frontpage Review on Voice of the People 96.1 FM. You can join the conversation at 0700 010 961 961. You can send a WhatsApp message to 0700 as well, 961 961. We'll be joined by Mr. Larry Ogwego in just a moment, but let me take this call. Hello, good morning. Say again, please. I can hear you now.
Okay, so I just want to comment on okay, my name is Sylvester.
Sylvester, so, you're welcome.
I just want to comment on yeah, thank you. I just want to comment on what the Plateau State Governor said, like you quoted him, that we're found that the Nigerian economy now has handed over by the former administration has messed up things. I just want to disagree with that. Now, when you are campaigning for elections, you have seen the problems in the society. You are coming to come and solve those problems. When they keep on giving excuses, it's irritating. If we don't have any problem, there won't have been any need for even bringing you on board in the first instance. You accepted this job. It's not as if we begged you to come and rule us. You accepted it. And we have these critical and chronic issues. Nigeria has always had problems. But each time they keep referring, believe me now, when Tinubu leaves now, whoever takes after him, that government will tell you that Tinubu messed up Nigeria and they handed it over to him. If the person didn't mess up the country, we wouldn't have needed you. I'm not saying that the former administration messed up Nigeria. That's not what I'm saying. But the point is, each time we keep trending blames in this person that did this one. That when Buhari came, he said it was Jonathan. That Jonathan messed up the country. Now you have come. People are even saying Buhari messed up the country. Fix this country. That's why they elected you. If you can't do it, you quit. Let another person that can fix it come and do it.
All right.
I'm just fed up each time they keep saying they messed up the country. They handed over debt to me. I mean, with them, they are borrowing now. And they are not talking about it. When another person comes now, that person will tell you that Tinubu borrowed massively and they handed over empty treasury to him. It is well, sir. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day.
All right. You too, Sylvester. Thank you so much. 0700 010 961 961 is the number to call to be a part of the conversation. We've been talking headlines this morning, spanning across Punch, Vanguard, This Day newspaper, looking at the looting of more trucks by hoodlums, cutting away with spaghetti and building materials. Imagine how much they'll be making with those building materials they sold. We're also seeing the Plateau State Governor saying Buhari sold Nigeria's future as well. The IG has also banned POS machines at police stations. Well, just how far that would go in ensuring or improving rather the image of the police is what is left to be seen. But hey, join the conversation 0700 010 961 961. We're trying as much as we can to reach out to our guest analyst Larry Ogwego, who's joining us via telephone as well. So, the Nigerian police force reiterated its ban on the use of point-of-sale terminal machines and other mobile money transaction devices within police stations and other police facilities across the country. Good morning to you, Mr. Larry, and welcome.
Good morning, Jesse. How are we this morning?
We're good. Thank you so much for joining us. All right. Let's start with the IG reiterating its ban on the use of POS terminal machines. And at this point in time, we know that that's not the only means of getting money, because even the POS machines could be owned by proxy or whatever the case may be. We understand that. But how far would this even go in improving the image of the Nigerian police force?
I think the challenge we have with politics is that very often we don't think them through. one of the things we must begin to do is to invest a lot of thinking before we make choices and decisions so that we don't go back and forth, because it erodes confidence when it looks as if we don't know what we're doing. And that's what I advise every leader to do. Think things through. And then if you make mistakes, sometimes just admit that you've made mistakes and then you retrace your steps honorably. So I think one of the things we must do is to think things through so that we don't just make choices and then tomorrow we do a flip and then say something else. I think that's one thing we must learn to do as leaders in this country.
All right. Yesterday we were talking about more looting of trucks, and today we're seeing it. Yesterday, some hoodlums carted away with building materials and spaghetti in Ogun State and Kaduna State. Mr. Larry, I don't know what else to say at this point.
Well, I said it was going to get worse, not because I expect people to become looters necessarily, but you see, the ordinary, like we call them, the man on the street is beginning to think that they don't have a choice. And when you look at the fact that they are hungry and desperate, and there are really no consequences for the looting, as it were. That is, the security agencies are overstretched. They don't have the capacity to stop the looting. The trucks that drive on the highway are exposed to looters. What I mean is they don't have any protection. And if you say, oh, I want to give security details to trucks, it's not just possible. And you can't even implement it because we don't have enough to go around as it were. After the politicians have taken most of the security agents, the politicians and the rich, we have very little left. So if you go and assign the few that are left to follow food bearing trucks, what will happen is that, first of all, we won't have enough to even do the basic things. Secondly, you are likely to have a clash between these security agents and those who may want to loot the trucks. So the most important thing is that we have to begin to think about fundamental solutions. Now we are talking about posting security guards to warehouses where we store food. That's an interim solution in the sense that, okay, you're going to post security guards to where you store food, the food items. That is the obvious places where you store food items. But if it's becoming fashionable to loot places where we have food items, you begin to ask yourself, is this how we have always been? Were we looting stores 6 months ago, 1 year ago? Why were we not looting then? Why are we looting now? So when you ask the fundamental questions, you can begin to design answers. First of all, we need to find a way to put food in the hands of the people. I suggested a food bank before now, and we are not thinking about it. If we somehow, through our decisions, policies, make the people hungry, and they are desperate, we have to find a way at least to show them that we are thinking about their hunger. And that is what is happening. They have this feeling that nobody cares about them and the hunger that they are passing through. So anywhere they see food that is stockpiled, they will take the food. And I must also point out that people are not angry just because they are hungry. Hunger is part of the reason for the anger. But then another part of the reason we don't think about often is that the people actually feel that they are being defrauded. Some people feed fat while they are hungry. The main anger from the interviews I've conducted, conversations, the main anger is that the people who actually impose this hunger on them are still feeding fat on the people's commonwealth. They sit on buffet tables and eat anything they want to eat. So the people know that the political elites are feeding fat while they are hungry. So it's difficult to preach to them at this time. It's difficult to explain to them why they shouldn't loot drugs. It's not good, it's criminal. And some of these drugs that we loot are people's hard-earned money. They don't belong to NEMA. They don't belong to politicians. But the point is that most of these people are too far gone. Their brain is not functioning well because they're hungry. They can't process information properly. And then they are desperate for food. So the government must begin to think about fundamental solutions. How do we establish food banks? How do we begin to demonstrate to the people that we care about them? I mean, the other day they went to the National Assembly, that is the labor union, And the senators were trying to tell them, we feel what you feel. And they started shouting. Even one of the senators, he was both amused and embarrassed. So you don't feel what we feel. You are ensconced in the parliament. You are having fun. You have a lot of money. You eat when you want to eat. You get 160 million vehicles. How can you say you feel what we feel? You don't feel what we feel. So I think we need to look at more fundamental solutions. And the faster we do that, the better. Most of us have forgotten that one of the things that triggered the French Revolution was hunger. Just hunger. That's how France lost her monarchy. So I think we need to begin to think about stopping this cycle. The politicians think it will just come and pass, but they have to think of a solution fast. And if they cannot think on their own, they should establish think tanks. That is, get experts to do your thinking for you, and then be sincere enough to implement. That's one of the things we must begin to do in Nigeria. It's not going to cut it again to just bring political acolytes and colleagues and then praise singers and sycophants around you, and then you expect them to design solutions that will work. Of course, it's not working. And if we have seen that it's not working, we should do something else.
All right. Looking at this particular story here, this one says the federal government is set to hold zonal public hearings on the minimum wage. Looking at that, just how important is this? Like, we always see the federal government embark on these exercises and talk about, okay, come together, let's talk, let's converse, let's be on one table and be on the same page and have conversations like this. But how far will it go in showing the need or the wants of the people, of the poor man rather, the average Nigerian? How far with some of these geopolitical zonal meetings, how far will they go in expressing the needs of Nigerians?
The first question I would ask is, who will be at the zonal meetings? How are you going to bring the people to the table? Who qualifies to be in the meeting? Because you can organize a zonal meeting or even a local government meeting, and then you choose the people who will be there. They may come on the basis of party affiliation. They may not represent the people. We had a constituent assembly some time ago that gave us a constitution that is largely rejected by the people because we didn't ask questions about how the people were sent to the constituent assembly. Definitely, the military boys chose the people they wanted to be there based on whatever parameter. So holding zonal meetings may be good, but what is more important is ensuring that the people who will speak at those meetings represent ordinary Nigerians. Because when we attend most of those meetings, you see people who are still not quite in tune with what the ordinary Nigerian has to go through. Most of the time, we see overfed civil society bosses. We see politicians and their representatives again. So you see that the same elite somehow will find a way to populate these meetings with their acolytes, with their praise singers, and all of that. So at the end of the day, the meetings still don't reflect what the people want. It's good to hold these meetings, but a more effective way to get feedback from us is to get the members of National Assembly to open their constituency offices and make them functional, and then design these constituency offices in such a way that they can get real feedback from us in writing, oral submissions. So people who can't even read and write can make oral submissions in local language, and these submissions can be translated. In this era of WhatsApp, you can open a WhatsApp handle and people can say their bit, say what you want to say about this subject matter. In 5 minutes, you can send it in vernacular. We need to begin to have a real conversation where the ordinary people will tell us, for instance, why are they looting food? What's the mindset that led you to taking food that doesn't belong to you? Is it just because you're hungry or because you're angry, or it's a way to get back at the leaders, or you think that government is not working, so we should descend into anarchy? We need to begin to have a conversation with ordinary people. But holding zonal meetings that is likely to be populated by the elites or their proxies will not really help us make progress. And if these zonal meetings are going to be held because somebody will organize it, and you have event planners, and money will be spent, and then kickbacks will be obtained, then it makes it worse. We need to even check the motive of the zonal meetings, and then check whether we are going to have meetings that will let us hear the voices of the ordinary Nigerian. That is the most important thing. And most of the time, our decisions are driven by proposals that are also driven by greed. not by solution thinking. Our proposals most of the time are not based on providing solutions to national problems. They are based on providing money for our bank accounts. And that is one of the fundamental problems we have in Nigeria. Being alleged that they have billions in foreign currency sitting around or being used for their personal forex business. So we need to become firm about the banking industry, because it's not just an industry. It's a very strategic and powerful industry. When you talk about the fact that money oils the wheel of trade and commerce, money actually, like they said, answers all things. And then the banking industry actually controls the money, and they have strong influence on business and commerce and the way people live on a daily basis. If you look at the impact of fintech on Nigerians, the fact that an ordinary person doesn't have to go to the bank now to get money. You can just go to a POS vendor with your ATM and get ₦1 million. Change the way we live. So bankers are very influential. But the problem we have is that because they are very influential and they deploy their influence to also compromise the leaders and the institutions that should put them in check, what we have is a situation where they have become more or less untouchable. And until we sit down and have the same rules applying to everybody, that's one of the challenges we have in Nigeria. A lot of people appear to be immune from the rules we set for ourselves. So we have a situation where all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. Until we get to that point where we have the same rules, we say, oh, EFCC just told us that 70% of the financial crime. So the next question is, what are they doing about it? Are they going to dedicate maybe a department or some specialized staff to focus on banking crimes, and then also go after the big boys the same way they go after the small boys? Have they actually probably thought about hiring experts, maybe from the banking industry, or people who have retired from the industry, who are specialists in forensic audit, who are probably banking inspectors, to come and help them unravel some of these crimes? I've always said that we need to put on our thinking cap. When you have problems that are complex, the first thing you do is to think the problems through. You don't just respond or react, you think first. And then when you do your proper analysis and you've done your thinking, then you can develop solutions that work. So it's good that the FCC actually have been able to acknowledge that there is a problem with the way the banking industry is operated. The next question becomes, what do we all do about it? Led by EFCC. After all, they are the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. So banking is about financial crimes. And if they commit 70% of the financial crimes, then it means that they should dedicate some attention, probably some staff and resources, to unraveling what is happening in the banking industry. If it's not done, all of these issues about managing our economy may still be an albatross, because banking is critical to actually getting the economy to work well, especially the forex problem. The banking sector must be cleaned up if we are going to get forex and a few other things right. Of course, banks don't lend in Nigeria. They don't lend money to ordinary people. They lend money to billionaires. They don't promote SMEs the way they ought to. They don't participate in the funding agriculture like they do in some other climes. They fund agriculture only when CBN gives them money and say, give this money to farmers. So we have banks that operate like traders. They don't have interest in the growth of businesses, in the growth of the economy. Their primary interest is in profit. That is short-term profit, not just profit. We need to begin to review the mentality of banks. They just declare fat profits, and nobody is asking, where do you get this profit from? Where exactly do you get all this money from? In the midst of economic downturn and economic dislocations, they are declaring 90% more profit, 80% more profit, 50% more profit, and nobody is asking questions. We need to actually begin to look at our banking industry and ask a simple question: what exactly are they contributing to national development? Are they just making profit and posting profit and then using the money for themselves?
In a situation where we're having, some people have said rather that EFCC should have their offices stationed in every single MDA, every single bank, working in tandem with the auditor, of those particular companies. Is that something that will even make a dent in our corruption, the fight against corruption?
I think that will be unwieldy. It will be extremely difficult to have them stationed in those places like that. But apart from the fact that it will be difficult, that level of proximity will also lead to compromise. I mean, it means that they're practically working in the same office. So they will even incorporate the EFCC officers into the crime. But remember that the EFCC officers are Nigerians. Remember that they are not only Nigerians, many of them were actually policemen. So we shouldn't have this impression that they are angels from heaven who are incorruptible. I think what we need to do is to also look at the benefit of technology in tracking money. The way the world is now, it's extremely difficult to do financial transactions without leaving footprints. So if we insist that all government transactions must be done electronically, it means that you can follow the money very easily. You can see where the money was sent to, check who owns the account, where it was sent to again, check who owns it. So we must first of all be serious about the fact that all transactions must be e-transactions so that we can have the footprints. You don't get to a point where you say, oh, they withdrew $1 million in cash for what? So if everything is done electronically, it means that you can easily, patiently follow the money. And the EFCC and other agencies should create simple templates for reporting. What I can subscribe to is that all MDAs should be able to give financial reports, not every year, but at specific intervals. For instance, every quarter. If it can be shorter than that, fine. And then they can look at these reports for telltale signs of financial fraud or infractions. But to say that they should go and sit down there and work with them, what will happen is that they will also teach them the bad things that they do. Yes, I think we can do better. All we have to do is to insist on standards being followed. I mean, e-transactions must be done so the money can be followed. And then we have strict rules, very, very strict rules about money. For instance, you can't move money into your personal account and then have it stay there for 3 months and move it back. We're in a country where sometimes people move salaries of civil servants into private accounts, use it to do business, and then move it back. The fact that that money moved outside the financial ecosystem of government is a big crime, and people should be penalized for their crimes. One of the major reasons we do what we want to do in Nigeria is because we get away with it. Simple. We get away with it. People tend to protect their cronies. The rule in Nigeria is don't just steal money, steal enough to go around. And that's a very bad rule. If you steal small money, you go to jail. You steal big money, you get an award. So until we turn around this mentality, we are going to be having problems. No matter how many EFCC men you post to all of the places, they will just steal enough money, share the money, and everybody is happy. So we need to also make sure that we have the same rules operating for everybody. When people go to jail and they don't get presidential pardon, they stay in jail for 5 years, 10 years, and they find out that they can't enjoy the loot. And this money is confiscated, buildings confiscated, sold to the public or converted to public use. When we become serious about fighting corruption, corruption will reduce in Nigeria. China is death sentence. No stories. They don't want you to benefit from the corruption. So if they catch the person, they kill the person. Full stop. While I'm not recommending capital punishment necessarily, I'm saying that you can see why corruption is a no-no in China. You don't want to do it because it's death. So we will have to be more serious. A situation where corrupt people are pardoned by the same presidents that are talking against corruption makes it just a joke, a big joke.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Larry, for joining the conversation this morning.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure and a privilege to be part of this show. Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too.
To you listening, thank you so much for always tuning in to VOP 96.1 FM. That's the station. The number to always call is 0700 010 961 961. 0700 010 961 961. Go ahead and check out our YouTube. It's at Voice of the People Abuja. Check out our YouTube page, Voice of the People Abuja. There are lots of shows on there, so you can catch up on some of the past episodes on the YouTube channel. So go ahead and subscribe, like, and share. We're way past 1,000 followers. Go ahead and make it 2,000. All right. Thank you so much for listening to Front Page Review on VOP 96.1 FM. Coming up at 8:30 is your sports bit. Kesera is my name. Have a lovely morning.
Voice of the People.